AFC East on the line. Bills favored by 3 in Miami. Of course, rematch they played back in week 3. And
Still
week 4, Buffalo won 48-20. Lots changed since then, too. Matt Milano was still there for the Bills. Bills' defense was cooking at that point. Miami offense was cooking, too. They were coming off a 70-point game with Denver before they went to Buffalo. Over these last couple of years, though, we've noticed, we've seen last year in Miami. Now, granted, it was early in the season, but in Miami, they beat the Bills 21-19. Remember, that was like the heat index was 1,000 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Then they played in the snow.
Only on Buffalo sideline, though.
Only on Buffalo sideline. Then they played in the snow in Buffalo week 15, and then they played in Buffalo for the playoffs without Tua. So the home field has been a huge part of the Dolphins-Bills these last couple seasons. So in Miami, but it's a night game, so you're not going to get the heat problems.
Yeah.
You know?
It is funny trying to nail down the sort of the narrative or the perception on this Miami team right now, because it's all based off that Baltimore game. Like, they got absolutely smacked by the Ravens in a game where the number 1 seed was on the line, and now it's like, well, the number 1 seed is gone. And actually now we're going to say, not only are you out of the number 1 seed running, but like Buffalo's a better team. Miami is not even. They've sunk so far away from the number 1 seed conversation that we're talking about them still as the team that doesn't beat good teams. And are they even better than Buffalo, who could jump them for the division with a win here? It's sort of crazy how far the analysis on them has slipped based off just that one absolute beatdown against the Ravens.
But I think that also feeds into what the rest of the season has been.
Yeah, they were, before all that, they were the team that, only beat bad teams, didn't beat good teams. But then they beat Dallas. Now, okay, it's not like their offense cooked in that game, but Dallas has a good defense and a crazy good pass rush, and it sort of makes sense for that to be a relatively low-scoring game even. And early in the game, everyone was scoring at will. It was just a weird game. Anyway, they ended up getting the win, so they did beat a good team. But then it all comes crashing down because they follow it up by getting wrecked.
But you made the point after that game that Dallas had a lot of missed opportunities in that one. We also made the point when Dallas got whooped by Buffalo. Hey, a couple plays go the other way, and it's not as bad of a beatdown. Even though it was well-earned by Buffalo, but you get a couple plays the other way, and Dallas is closer in that game. I think that stuff matters.
But I think this is just the NFL this year, where outside of Baltimore, who every time they've been faced with one of these games has been decisive and resounding in their victory, and San Francisco, who outside of a couple of wobbles have been like that, everybody else just doesn't have the consistency. Like, they hit a game where they get destroyed by somebody, and then every team has one of those. And I don't know that there are, outside of those 2 number 1 seeds and 2 favorites, there are the dominant teams that we thought they were. So we keep, every week, 1 week it's going to be Miami as the team of the moment. The next week it's going to be Buffalo. Then Kansas City might get it together for a week. I think we're just going to be bouncing around these teams, but they're all kind of at the same level. It's just that it has a wide range of possible outcomes in any given weekend.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with this. I think the perception is that Buffalo is a powerhouse team that would just shoot themselves in the foot over and over again, and it's their fault why they lost. It's Buffalo's own fault,
right?
Why they lost to Denver, and why they lost to the Jets in Week 1, right? It's their own fault. Whereas with Miami, and I don't know if this is the wrong narrative, with Miami, it's like Dallas, they'll beat up on the bad teams, and when they get to a good team, they struggle. And here are some of the points I would make around that where that could be the case. Like when they faced Buffalo in Week 4, there isn't some like magical game plan to beat the Dolphins offense other than they just made the throws tighter. Like they were just more sound in coverage against this Miami team. They crowded the middle of the field. Baltimore did a lot of the same stuff. Miami has struggled offensively against Buffalo, the Chiefs, and the Ravens, 3 of the better defenses in the AFC. Miami's defense, did they turn a corner in the second half of the season? Remember all the on-off, the wit out, Jalen Ramsey. How much of that was true, or how much of that is when you go back through Miami season? Here are their top coverage grades. Jets, Patriots, right? Like Jets again, Broncos in Week 3, Raiders with Aiden O'Connell, Commanders, Giants. Those are their best coverage grades. Their worst grades, Ravens, Bills, Cowboys, all of the best quarterbacks that they played, right? How is Miami a team that is just as good as their opponent? They're great against bad teams, and they're just another team when it comes to some of these elite teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just perception, though. Like, the Bills are favored by 3 points on the road. And if Miami had even made it a close game against Baltimore and lost, how different would that line be? It just feels like all of the perception right now about Miami is based off that one game where they got destroyed by the Ravens. And that's not, they're not the only team that's happened to. Like, the 49ers got wrecked the week before, immediately bounced back and showed they're still the 49ers. So I'm just curious how much of this whole analysis of Miami that isn't just, us talking, isn't just the sort of media, the shouty shows, but is Vegas as well, is completely constructed off that one game that was the last thing we saw.
Yeah. I mean, look, I still think Miami's good. And obviously, I think Tua's playing really well. I think he played better than the stats. There were some rough ones in there in the middle of the field, but the offense is still capable of being explosive. The defense now, they lose Bradley Chubb last week. They had their worst pass rushing outing as a team last week anyway.
Yeah.
And then they lose Bradley Chubb. So there are concerns on both sides of the ball, but they're a better team at home. They did beat Dallas at home, right? So I think it'll be a great game. That's why it's Sunday Night Football. The number 2 seed is on the line. I don't think Miami can drop below the 6 seed, perhaps. But this is for the AFC East. Buffalo can clinch so Buffalo wins, they get the number 2 seed. Buffalo can also clinch a playoff berth with a tie, or a Pittsburgh loss or tie, or a Jacksonville loss or tie, or a Texans-Colts tie. So if we get that Texans-Colts tie on Saturday night, Buffalo's like, all right, we're in. We made it. They're good.
Don't even need to show up.
I mean, you do, because you want that 2 seed.
Nah.
Do you want to play in Buffalo? I'm looking forward to the game, though.
Yeah.
And I think it's safe to say the last few weeks, Buffalo has done a nice job of showing that they can win in different ways and with the run game. And Josh Allen didn't play well at all last week against New England. I do think the passing conditions in Buffalo are a factor, but he didn't play well at all. But they still pulled it off because they forced a bunch of turnovers.
Yeah, they're a weird team, Buffalo. They've rescued their season, and I think they are a team in this AFC that can beat anybody in the playoffs. But I don't know if they've shown that they can do it for a run that they would need to make a Super Bowl or to win a Super Bowl. But they're certainly a team, if they do make the playoffs, that I don't think anyone is going to be happy about playing in the postseason.
No, they. That's why they have the higher Super Bowl odds.
Also, all for seeing if Josh Allen breaks out more rugby plays, crazy laterals out of the tackle.
Oh, high-end Josh Allen is amazing when he's feeling it. Looks like Daquan Jones is back. Is that right? For Buffalo? Am I looking at the wrong game? Did he come back last week? Did I miss that? It's good stuff. Ed All was making a lot of plays up front. Did Jones play last week? Yeah, he came back with 28 snaps. But he was playing really well early in the season. Had a 91 grade against Miami that first time around.
Yeah. So, I mean, losing him earlier in the year, he was on an absolute tear. It was a big loss as part of the sequence of losses they had on that defense that, you can make a fairly reasonable argument that is, even if you're going to be able to withstand that, it's going to take a while for it to work out and figure out what the defense looks like without some really key players at each level.
That's what's, I think, been interesting about the Bills season. They had to deal with a loss of Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White. They had to deal with some of those losses. They bring in Rasul Douglas and
who's been incredible for them.
And just like offensively, they moved on from Ken Dorsey, kind of reshaped the offense a little bit. So that's what happens in a 17-game season. You have to make those adjustments, but the Bills putting themselves in position to get the number 2 seed and make a playoff run here. Sounds like I'm going Buffalo. I didn't mean to be so negative toward the Dolphins. I'm just trying to lay out some facts here coming off that loss against the Ravens.
Yeah, I've also gone Buffalo, but I do think that there's a chance that we get something of a Miami backlash off the back of that game to, remind people that they're still a pretty imposing offense.
Yeah, I'll take Buffalo, but I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be close, but I'll take the Bills to cover the 3, get the 2 seed, pushes Miami probably to the 6. So, yeah, we could be looking at one of these teams is probably going to play the Chiefs in week 1. in Kansas City in the wild card weekend.
That's
a great
fun,
game.
whoever
And I
it
could
is.
come back and say I think either team can go in there and win.
Yeah, it's fun, whichever team it is.
So that's a great potential wild card matchup there.